Good morning. My name's Laura, and I am one of the midwives here at Holy Family. And this morning we are going to be going over our English nutrition class, so thanks for joining us. Since we are doing these classes online now, currently with the coronavirus protocol, if you do have questions, just make notes throughout this class and make sure to definitely bring it up to one of your midwives at your next prenatal appointment so we can talk about it a little bit further. So this presentation, again, is on nutrition, eating well for pregnancy and for life. So just to kind of review our objectives, we want to encourage personal reflection on strengths, challenges, and nutritional goals. We're going to discuss food choices, the good, bad, the ugly, discuss implementing pantry staples to have on hand at home in order to make healthy recipes. We're going to learn techniques for reading product labels, as well as review food prep and snacks to help you reach your goals during this pregnancy and then beyond after pregnancy as well. We will discuss the impact of diet and hydration on pregnancy and the long-term health effects with those things. We will identify and decrease risk factors during pregnancy and pre and post-pregnancy by improving our healthy lifestyle choices. This will improve blood sugar control in our at-risk clients, and then it will also affect or improve blood sugar control in clients with gestational diabetes and then just regular diabetes. So for our community as a whole, going over these objectives, hopefully we'll decrease family risk factors by improving healthy lifestyle choices. We'll decrease diabetes risk factors in Westlaco families, and then also recognizing our community health resources. So typically when you're in class for this, when you're in person for this class, we'll do a little activity mapping out on a paper plate what your plate typically looks like for consuming food. So feel free to do that at home if you'd like, or you can just kind of think through what your average meal looks like. So first step in making improvements is definitely being cognizant and aware of our daily choices for nutrition at each meal and then for snacking in between. So this diagram or pyramid, as you can see, it kind of goes over different activities and then not only different types of activities but different frequencies of activities. So at the top there's rarely, so watching TV, playing video games, sitting still or being sedentary for more than 30 minutes. And then we'll kind of walk our way down the pyramid. So as we're reviewing this, just kind of think what your typical activity patterns look like daily as well as weekly, and then also thinking about as a family unit, as a family, what your habits look like. So as we go one tier lower, there's 2 to 3 times a week recreational activities, so golfing, bowling, archery, other activities such as that. And then muscle exercises, so yoga, squatting, lunges, stretching. Further down, 3 to 5 times a week, aerobic exercise, so at least for 20 minutes, swimming, running, jogging, biking, skiing. And then on the right side, there's that recreational activity of different sports or activities. And then every day at the bottom, it could be walking the jog, stair climbing instead of using the elevator, going on long walks, gardening, walking to the supermarket if it's safe instead of driving, or parking the car away from home, just again to increase more physical activity and decrease that sedentary lifestyle that a lot of America as well as the world has kind of trended towards in the last many years. So along that, we're going to talk about the weight of the nation, Texas and beyond. So this grid is kind of eye-opening in terms of, it says, did you know that only 32% of women during pregnancy gained the recommended amount of weight? So 32% stayed within those guidelines for healthy weight gain, 21% did not gain enough, and then 48% gained too much weight. And this is important because not only in pregnancy, but even when we're not pregnant, it's important to try to strive to be at a healthy BMI or body mass index, because a lot of different factors can go into play with that in terms of our health currently, but then long-term health as well. So in the United States, 73.7% of men are overweight or obese. And then for women, 66.9% of women are overweight or obese. So obviously pregnant people are not alone in the struggle for trying to maintain that healthy weight. This reflects a topic United statewide as well as worldwide, that we're trying to become healthier in our daily habits. So looking specifically at Texas, adult obesity prevalence by the public health region of Texas, and this data was compiled in 2016. So if you look at that map, the darker the purple, the more obese. So you can see the different counties or regions, and the one where we're at is on the higher end there at the very bottom. So definitely, goals for us living here. Physical activity in Texas, again, looking at this map, you can see that the light green is the least active areas, so the most sedentary, the regions who are not as physically active. So again, that lower region where we're at is on the lighter side of green, so not as active as we could be here in this region. So pairing that with that last slide, you can see that that would definitely increase some risk factors for us. So again, important topic for sure. So how much weight should I gain during my pregnancy? So obviously weight is only one piece of the picture. It's only one data point. We will be tracking your weight obviously at each prenatal visit when you come in, but it is only one tool that we use to track your health. So remembering that increasing the number on the scale represents babies growing, your body making more blood supply during pregnancy, more amniotic fluid, your breast tissue is increasing, as well as potentially increased body mass. So there's no one fixed amount that a mom should plan to gain. It definitely depends on many factors, the individual woman, how much she weighed before she became pregnant, and also her lifestyle. So in general, guidelines are that women who are underweight before they become pregnant should aim to gain between 28 and 40 pounds. Those who are of average weight, or that average BMI, should gain between 25 and 35 pounds. And then moms who carry a lot of weight for their height before they become pregnant should work towards gaining between 11 and 20 pounds. So instead of focusing on the number on the scale, try to focus on the actions and activities that you can do and you can take to keep yourself healthy, again, for pregnancy, but even beyond pregnancy as well. So this is kind of a grid or a graph of ideal healthy non-pregnant weight. So again, when you come to us either pregnant or not pregnant for your women healthcare, we get your weight, and that's one data point we use in healthcare. Why do we do this? Again, it's for similar reasons. We monitor your weight during pregnancy. We monitor your weight outside of pregnancy. So we definitely know that problems exist with being underweight, just as problems exist with being a little overweight as well. So we are going to talk about some of the health problems that exist with being overweight because of our location here in Texas. So you can take a moment and look at the grid. You can find where you are on the height graph on the left column, and then to the right is the range of the guidelines for healthy weight range for your specific height. So some of the problems that can be affected with too little weight gain in pregnancy, babies may not get the nutrition that they need. They may be small, they may be at risk for health problems, and then they may be at risk for developmental delays. Too much weight gain in pregnancies, babies might grow or get too big, which can lead to some increased risk for moms, especially during birth or labor. So some birth complications could exist or arise. They could be more at risk for cesarean sections, and then also that infant could be possibly more at risk for childhood obesity. So recommendations by the CDC, if before pregnancy you were, and you can see that underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obese, then, and that's again based on your BMI. So it's very easy if you don't know your BMI, you can graph it. There's apps, there's things online. You can plug in your height and your weight, and it'll give you a numerical number for your BMI. So again, it's a nice little grid over here, a reminder of kind of what our goal is for weight gain during pregnancy. So some risk factors that go along with the discussion of your weight pre-pregnancy, but then your weight during pregnancy. Risk factors for diabetes that do exist. You've probably heard these before, but we'll do a quick run through your family history, so genetics, your weight, your lifestyle, so how active or inactive you are daily and weekly. If there was gestational diabetes in your pregnancies, either before previous pregnancies or this pregnancy, that can be a risk factor for developing diabetes later in life. If you have high blood pressure, that can also be a risk factor for diabetes. Your cholesterol levels and your triglyceride levels, if those are abnormal, again, that can affect diabetes developing. Polycystic ovarian syndrome can be related to that as well. And then your race, so African Americans, Latino Hispanics, American Indians, and Asian Americans have that higher risk. So that last slide was on risk factors for diabetes. This slide is for risk factors for gestational diabetes. So diabetes during pregnancy. So if you're older than 25 years old, if you have a family history, again, that genetic component, your personal history of prediabetes. So if you've been to the doctor and they check sometimes your blood level for glucose or blood sugar, or they will sometimes check that hemoglobin A1C, which is the average of your blood sugar reading over the last 3 months. If you have a history of that pre-diabetic range, that can be a risk factor. Your weight again, and then again race. Those different races listed have been shown to have a higher risk for developing gestational diabetes. So diabetes by counties in the Rio Grande Valley, you can see this map here, and they are on the high side. This was very interesting to me when I found out for the first time, but diabetes in the valley is almost 3 times higher than the general population of the United States. So that's quite increased. These charts were from 1991 to 2000. As you can see, the trend in gestational diabetes did not go down, but in fact they rose steadily over the years. In fact, in the US, every year 2 to 10% of all pregnancies are affected by gestational diabetes. So these grids or graphs are categorized by the different races listed there, and the N is the actual population number that that was included or studied within these different research studies. But as you can see, all of those steadily increased over the years from 1991 to 2000. So why does all of this matter? Obviously, this matters for your health, but also your family's health, for your infant's health who's going to be joining your family. If you're pregnant or thinking of getting pregnant, if you're not pregnant now, someday you may. All of those things are obviously high motivational points for why we're talking about this today, and hopefully going to find some tips and tools and resources that can help solve what we're dealing with as a nation in terms of extra weight and not the best nutritional practices. So what are we in control of? So, we talked a few slides ago about different risk factors, and so we're going to talk a little bit more now about what factors we can actually control, because there are some that are outside of our control. So on the left here, you can see what we can't control. So genetics, your race, your age, those are factors we obviously have no control over. Our family history, our personal health history, in terms of our medical history, the context we live in, so where we live, what resources we have available to us, our support system, as well as our past health decisions. All of those things are factors we cannot control. What we can control on that right side, your lifestyle choices and preventable risk factors, so our diet or our nutrition, what we can eat or what we choose to eat. Those habits that we build very, very early in lifestyle or in our life, as a young child and the family we were raised in, that definitely plays a part how we consume food and our nutrition as we're adults. Our exercise or our activity level, definitely we can control those things. Our weight, our heart health, so how we choose a heart healthy diet to try to prevent high cholesterol, high blood pressure, those sorts of things. And then hydration is a huge key factor in our nutritional lifestyle. And then of course sleep. So our next slide will definitely delve a little bit deeper in terms of eating choices and different food consumption factors that will kind of play a part in these factors that we can control. But first, we're going to talk about exercise and different things in pregnancy, and again, not when we're pregnant, that we enjoy to do. So trying to think about what you are drawn to, because the biggest thing, to build a healthy habit daily, weekly, monthly, annually, is to try to do exercises that you're motivated to do and where you really kind of get in that rhythm and that groove. So take a moment now, think about if you're more drawn to jogging or bicycling or tennis or yoga. Swimming is an awesome exercise. It's the biggest thing with that is finding the pool where we would have access to get in that rhythm and routine. So activity recommendations, so everyone meaning all adults, pregnant or non-pregnant, older or younger, activity recommendations is that everyone should have a minimum of 2.5 hours of moderate aerobic exercise per week. And then as part of that, or in addition to that, I should say 2 days or more with muscle strength training. So lifting, trying to tone and build that muscle can also help us reach our nutritional and health goals. So when you think of 2.5 hours of moderate aerobic exercise per week, everyone has busy lives, working, caring for children, caring for parents, just, trying to get by day. It can feel overwhelming to try to build that into your lifestyle if you're not already doing it, but try to take just a little bit each day. So 30 minutes per day for 5 days, or even you could do every day, 7 days a week for just 22 minutes, and try to organize it in that way, and it might feel a little more attainable to get into that habit. So why is it important to eat healthy? Typically when we're in person, we would kind of dialogue about this and list some ideas. So again, since you're watching this at home, you can think through kind of a few points, bullet points of why it's important for us to be healthy eaters. Benefits of eating healthy. So again, we'll list this out here. Again, weight control, being within that range of healthy weight based on our height, which is that body mass index. So having weight loss or weight management, trying to reach that goal. Benefits of eating healthy include decreasing the risk of cancer, diabetes management, so very important to keep that glucose control or that blood sugar control. That's why we have women in gestational diabetes, but then family practice docs who have patients who have regular diabetes. It's very important to track those blood sugar readings and keep track of that to make sure that we're having those within range for both fasting and then after meals. Heart health and stroke prevention, that's huge, hugely correlated with our eating habits, health habits for the next generation. So again, when we were children, how our families, how our parents ate, cultural traditions, all of that goes into play, and you really get those habits built very early on. And so it's very important to try to teach our children well in terms of how to consume healthy nutrition. Strong bones and teeth, and overall we'd have a better mood, when we're active, when we're eating healthy, we feel better. That's why when we have a huge meal that's tons of calories and heavy, we feel sluggish. We feel like we just want to take a nap all afternoon. We don't feel that energy, and so that definitely plays a part in that when we consume healthy foods. It's been shown to improve our memory and then also improve our gut health, and we sleep better at night when we eat better. So specifically related to pregnancy, why is it important to eat well during pregnancy? So again, we've kind of gone over this, but we want to have healthy weight management with the goal that we're, staying within that healthy weight guideline or recommendation leading up to birth. There's lower rates of gestational diabetes and lower rates of high blood pressure in pregnancy when we eat well. Again, if we're eating well throughout pregnancy, we're maintaining our blood sugar at a better, tighter control kind of range, which is good and what we need to be doing if we do develop gestational diabetes in pregnancy. Healthy weight for babies at birth with the nutrition or nutrients that they need to grow and develop. So again, earlier on we talked about if babies are weighing on the low side or if they're on the high side, those can affect the labor process or their development, after they're here with us. And then staying hydrated definitely reduces the risk of preterm labor, headaches, and then it also maintains adequate amniotic fluid. Let's see here. Yep. So which foods should we avoid during pregnancy? Sorry, the screen is messing up. There we go. So typically, and again, a lot of this information at your new OB visit with us, we should have given you a folder with a purple book that we kind of reference as the pregnancy Bible. A lot of this information should be found in there, and then of course we talk a lot about this during our prenatal visits with you guys. But big ones that we definitely want to avoid, we want to avoid unpasteurized cheeses. Avoid raw or undercooked fish, so or undercooked foods like fish, sushi, raw sprouts, lunch meats, that's a big one to avoid. We want to avoid fish with a lot of mercury, so high mercury levels, swordfish, shark, king mackerel, tilefish. Those things are definitely important to avoid during pregnancy for avoidance of any issue with baby's development. While baby's developing inside of you. Caffeine is okay. We definitely want to try to limit that if you're a big coffee drinker, trying to limit it to 1 cup of coffee per day, so about 200 milligrams of caffeine. If you have more than that, that can sometimes be related to some issues as well in terms of baby's growth and baby's fetal heart rate, how fast baby's heart is going, because it is a stimulant. And then, of course, alcohol we want to avoid in pregnancy. If you are a big seafood lover, you can definitely have salmon, catfish, tuna, shrimp, pollock. Guidelines typically we want to have, if you can, 8 to 12 ounces per week of those. So it's definitely good to have those sorts of things if it sounds good and you like eating it. So, healthy lifestyle choices, what to eat and drink, and how much of it. So, think of your hydration habits. What does hydration look like for you? On this slide, you can see a lot of different options of beverages that we have available to us. The biggest thing with this, obviously, we want to drink a lot of water even when we're not pregnant, but in pregnancy it's very, very important to stay well hydrated with water. You can have some of these other beverages, but again, we want to make good informed choices of what we're putting into our body. A lot of these beverages have quite a high value of sugar, and can actually end up dehydrating you, and so then you're kind of fighting that battle trying to stay hydrated. And again, we just feel better when we're more hydrated. So choosing your beverage, water is best. We want 2 to 3 liters per day. Low-fat milk, almond milk or coconut milk, 1 to 2 servings. Unsweetened tea or coffee you can have, but again, we want to use that sparingly. Remember that caffeine is a diuretic and it is a stimulant as well. So again, we don't want to go overboard on that. One thing to talk about in terms of water and hydration, just thinking how every part of our body needs water. It's very important for our body to have water to survive and to stay in balance. So our brain, our blood, our organs, and our muscles all need water to function efficiently. It doesn't matter if you're not pregnant, guidelines are definitely have 2 to 3 liters per day at least. The uterus, in terms of pregnancy, thinking of the uterus, the uterus is a large muscle, and so in order for it to work properly and work efficiently, it definitely needs to have water. If it does not get enough water, it gets very cranky and starts acting up and can do that irritable contracting or cramping, which can be uncomfortable. So if you're dehydrated, when you go into labor, contractions can actually be dysfunctional, meaning they're not effective and you're just getting a lot of irregular cramping, and that's not as conducive for a healthy or an effective labor pattern for helping bring baby down and to eventually get born. So let's talk about some other beverages. How much sugar is in your drink? So again, when you're here in the class, if we were not doing this online, we would have some kind of aids or different props that we'd go over, but we'll kind of make shifts since we're doing this online today. So guessing sugar content. So 12 ounces of apple juice versus 12 ounces of Coke versus 16 ounces of aguas fresca, dependent on the recipe. So on the right, you can see their apple juice, how many calories are in it, 39 grams of sugar, 165 calories, which is equal to about 9.8 teaspoons, which is a lot, versus Coca-Cola, 140 calories, which is equal to 40 grams of sugar, which is equal to 10 teaspoons of sugar. And then at the bottom there, the aguas fresca, 72 calories, 12.2 grams of sugar, quite a bit lower in terms of 2 teaspoons of sugar. So just, again, making those conscious decisions of what we're putting in our body, it really does make a huge difference. One thing to kind of talk about is how it's important, like instead of having apple juice, we really recommend having fruit, like eating fruit, actual fruit, instead of drinking it. When one eats the fruit, they get the juice and the fiber. So most store-bought juices do not have fiber as part of it, and fiber is a very important part of our dietary consumption as well, which we will talk about, I believe, in a couple slides. So again, bringing up that visualization of your plate that you consume at each meal. So thinking about what is on your plate and the different amounts of different things such as fruit, veggies, whole grains, protein, non-starchy vegetables. So this is a really good thing to take a screenshot of or make notes on and have it on your refrigerator in the kitchen when you're meal planning. But the goal is to have, on the left there you can see fruits, 3 to 4 servings, vegetables, 4 to 5 servings. The majority of people are not getting enough fruits and veggies, and that's very, very important for a diet or a nutrition. Grains, we want to get the whole grains, so 3 to 4 servings. Proteins, 4 to 5 servings. Goal or guideline recommendation is to have 100 grams of protein in pregnancy. Diet or dairy products, 2 to 3 servings, and then oils and fats, 6 to 8 teaspoons a day. So that's a daily kind of guideline. You can look on the right here, and you can look kind of at the other little purple boxes, and it gives good suggestions if you're hitting a wall or you're not really sure what to reach for in your pantry or when you're going grocery shopping. This gives kind of a good visualization of that. One thing that is missing from the slide is water. So again, 2 to 3 liters a day of water. And to talk a little bit more specifically of these different food groups, fruits and veggies are important. They give us energy, vitamins, minerals, and then folic acid and fiber. Those come from when we eat our fruits and veggies. An example of one serving of fruit could be half of a banana, 1 apple, 1/4 of a watermelon, a 1/2 cup of canned fruit, 17 grapes, a 1/2 cup of cooked veggies would equal 1 serving of veggies, or 1 cup of raw veggies, so like carrots or cauliflower or broccoli. For carbs, we are again wanting to get those whole grains, starchy vegetables. Again, those contain vitamins, minerals, and fiber. We're trying to eat whole wheat or whole grains, which contain more fiber, and they actually help keep our blood sugar from spiking. So examples of servings for this component is a 1/2 of a potato, 1/2 cup of oatmeal, 1 corn tortilla, 1/2 cup of beans, or a 1/3 cup of pasta. And then for protein, good foods for that would be peanut butter. So 1 ounce of peanut butter is about 1 tablespoon. 3 ounces of meat or cheese, so about the size of the palm of your hand. That's important to include as well, to have a balanced plate for your consumption. So choosing your plate if you have gestational diabetes, again, good visualization tool. You can see the plate divided, a 9-inch plate divided in half, where you're filling that half with the non-starchy vegetables. You're drinking milk or water, definitely water. You don't want to skip that. And then the other half of the plate is divided further into half, so different quarters. You want to fill it with whole grain or starchy vegetables, and then fill 1/4 of the plate with a lean protein. And then on the side there, definitely don't forget the fruits, because that's again, just hitting this point hard, choosing a meal and just visualizing the plate and how to fill it. A lot of us actually overfill it with carbs or meat, and we're not getting those fruits and veggies, which again is important to balance and to our daily diet. So again, this kind of lists out servings per day, what our goal should be for meeting these different categories. So you can definitely pause the presentation now if you want to make notes of this so you have it easily accessible in your kitchen. So here, again, we would normally interact if you were here in class with me, but trying to discuss factors that help us with healthy choices. So think of a time when you were able to make healthy decisions surrounding your diet. What helped you to make those positive choices, and how did you feel when you were eating well? So typically what helps us make positive choices, if we're in it with our family, loved ones, support system, if we're all trying to reach this healthy lifestyle and nutritional goal, it makes it easier because we're kind of keeping each other accountable. And then how we feel is usually a lot better. We're not as groggy, we're not as sluggish in the morning, we're more energetic, we're not as depressed or anxious, we're more positive, happy, joyful people. So those are definitely all motivational ways to try to make improvements based on kind of where you're at and where your goal is. Challenges are definitely real and can sometimes prevent us from being healthy. Here are some challenges listed. Obviously, cost and finances play a huge factor or a huge part in what we eat and what we're able to eat. Our time is another big challenge. If you're busy working full time or you know, have many children and you just feel like you don't have enough hours in the day, it can be hard sometimes to meal plan or access, you know, the healthy produce, fresh fruit, foods such as that. Habits, again, our habits are really ingrained hard from an early age. So just thinking through kind of how you were brought up and what you absorbed in terms of your nutritional habits. Traditions, so cultural traditions are a huge part in all of our lives and kind of how we learn to cook and how we socialize, and a lot of what we do in life revolves around food, and so that can sometimes be a huge challenge if those traditions are not on the healthy side. Obviously, we all have food that we like and dislike, so that plays a huge part in terms of what we're filling our plate with. Recipes, difficulties in making change. So after we've had our habits enforced in us from a young age, it is hard to make changes, but it is possible. It just takes planning and motivation and support. Again, family, that can be a challenge if, you know, if we're not all on the same page trying to eat healthy nutrition. So think about what else may kind of be a challenge in your specific situation right now, and I guess trying to brainstorm how we can help solve and support you in making that healthy change. So again, just the biggest thing is being aware of what our plate looks like and what decisions we're making on a daily basis in terms of what we're consuming. So this, again, is more of an interactive thing typically where you have a paper plate and you draw a typical meal that you would consume, and then we would go around and talk about it and think about, you know, what's great about it or maybe what needs a little bit of improvement. So you can definitely feel free to do that at home if you want. So dietary fiber, we mentioned this a little bit ago, but talking about fiber, a high fiber diet is very, very important because it helps us maintain balance. So think about if you have ever been bloated and or constipated, chances are it is because you did not have enough fiber in your diet. So your fiber definitely keeps you regular and avoids constipation, avoids that bloated feeling. Fiber is the stuff that helps maintain a healthy gut or GI system. So it keeps things moving along, which is definitely important, especially in pregnancy, you know, with the different changes that happen to your body when you're helping grow a babe. So there's different types of fiber. There's roughage or bulk, and that is not absorbed by the body. It's found in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes or beans. Helps maintain healthy weight. Again, a huge part of fiber in our diet helps lower the risk for diabetes, lowers cholesterol, lowers heart disease, and some cancers. So those are all big motivational points to try to have that long-term health for a healthy life into your many older years. Helps you live longer. And then there's two types of fiber, soluble or insoluble. So this breaks down, again, further fiber sources. Food obviously is the best source for fiber because it contains vitamins and minerals that most supplements of fiber supplements, they do not contain or they will not have. However, if you are not able to take in enough dietary fiber with your diet or with your nutrition, then it might be beneficial for you to consider a supplement. But how much fiber is needed? So we'll talk about that in a minute, but real quick, on the right there, you'll see the different food products and then supplements for fiber sources. So wheat, corn, oats, quinoa is awesome, brown rice, fruits and veggies, legumes, so the beans, peas, lentils, nuts and seeds, and then fiber added foods, so granola bars and yogurt. And then those are the different sorts of supplements that are listed on the bottom, which you're probably all familiar with. So fiber daily recommendations for adults. It shows that the Institute of Medicine recommends 25 grams of fiber daily for women under the age of 50, and then 21 grams of daily fiber for women over the age of 51. So that's obviously for our women patients, but then men or dads, if you're watching, those are the daily fiber intake numbers for over the age of 51 or age 50 and younger. And then on that left side there is a nice visualization of the sources of fiber that we just talked about on that last screen. So again, just trying to work towards healthy habits. So things that you can do to try to reach your goals of making healthy eating easier, looking for whole foods. So not the ones that are, you know, in boxes or in bags and preserved foods, you know. Usually what we tend to gravitate towards, especially if we're stressed out and busy, are those prepackaged foods. But we're looking for whole foods, so the veggies, the produce, the fruits, all of the colorful foods, you know, that you've probably heard the goal is for your plate to have a lot of different colors in it. That's a good sign that you're getting a well-balanced meal. Shopping the edges of the supermarket, shopping at dollar and discount stores, you can get a lot of good things there sometimes, you know, if we're working with a tight budget. Planning ahead and portioning out your snacks, so packing them when you leave the house or doing meal planning on the weekends can sometimes really help if you have a busy work or family lifestyle. Making a budget for the week and then also mapping out a menu for the week, so that way we again have something to kind of work with for the week instead of just kind of flying by the seat of our pants among the busy schedule that we all keep. Make more food than you need for that meal, and you can freeze it for future meals, and that sometimes is really helpful for consuming healthy food choices. And then a big thing is just keeping those pantry staple foods on hand at home. So we'll talk about that here, I think, in the next slide. But you've probably heard that term before, maybe in one of your prenatal appointments, but pantry staples. So these are what we're talking about. It doesn't necessarily need to be in your pantry. It can be in your fridge or freezer. But these are things where you have it on hand at home, and you always have them on hand at home, so that way you have some options for whipping up a quick and easy meal that's healthy for you and not, you know, grabbing takeout or going out to eat. So dry goods, we're talking herbs and spices, cornmeal, baking powder, baking soda, dry beans, jasmine and or brown rice, quinoa, old-fashioned oats, the oils and vinegars and sauces. Having an assortment of those are very helpful because then again you can mix and match and try different recipes. Mayonnaise, mustard, honey, peanut butter, and then broth. And then perishables, you know, frozen veggies in your freezer, eggs, tortillas, fresh vegetables for salads and snacks, so the produce, packets or cans of tuna, or, you know, you can get that canned chicken, which can be helpful sometimes for quick, healthy meals, frozen fruit, potatoes, preferably sweet potatoes, cabbage, ginger, avocado, fresh fruit, frozen chicken breast, frozen, you know, salmon or shrimp, cans of black beans, chickpeas, northern white beans, and then olives. So those sorts of things, if you have some of those on hand at home, those are good staples where then you can have some options of, you know, what to cook that could be a healthy meal for you guys. One thing to mention, the recommendation for fresh versus frozen fruits or veggies. We recommend fresh or frozen over the canned ones because canning, actually that process starts to break them down, and so they can lose, the fruits and veggies can lose some of their fiber and their other nutrients that are important to consume. So again, leaning towards that fresh or frozen fruits and veggies opposed to the canned version. So here, and we're getting close to the end here, just a few more slides, the ins and outs of reading food labels. So this is another important skill. A lot of us don't take time to read the labels, but it's important to look and see what we're actually consuming. So when you're grocery shopping, you have the ability to take a quick scan of the labels and compare the different products in order to make a better choice for the nutritional value for that specific product. So what you're looking for when you read the labels, you're looking at serving size, your calories, or calories from fat, total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, sodium or the salt content, which a lot of things have so very high salt content, and it's not good for us to be consuming that much salt. Total carbohydrates, sugar, protein, and fiber. So serving size, amount per serving is definitely important. If it says half a cup cooked, that is what it means. Again, balancing serving sizes or what we're consuming on our plate with our activity in terms of exercise or the amount we're actually getting up and moving and not sitting in place. Calories and calories from fat. Calories are the measure of energy released by food. So we need X amount of calories for our activities. That's why marathon runners definitely need more calories, or if we're breastfeeding, we need more calories than if we're not. Fat, there are different kinds of fats in food, and we'll talk about this more here in a minute. Cholesterol, think of the different animals that we sometimes consume. If it came from an animal, it does have that cholesterol, and so that's why we want to balance out the amount of meat we're eating with the veggies and the fruit and the whole grains that we're consuming. Sodium, too much salt can definitely lead to health problems. We talked about that a little bit. 1 teaspoon, which is equal to 2,400 milligrams, that is a daily serving. We get far much more than that. Carbs, this is what gives us energy, but it's also what raises our blood sugar. So that's why we get a really high spike if we eat a lot of carbs, and then after lunch we get really sluggish and want to take a nap because we're crashing after that spike. And then protein, we definitely want to have a high amount of protein in our diet to give us that energy and that balance that's important for our nutrition. So here's a specific slide on a label. So label reading, again, looking specifically what these values are on the label if we're looking at the grocery store, if we're at home. So again, you can see the key components such as the serving size at the top there, 2/3 cup or 55 grams, and then it says how many servings of that size are contained within the container. So in this case, it says about 8 servings are within here. Calories, says 230 calories. Let's see, cholesterol, 0 milligrams, sodium, 160 milligrams, the dietary fiber, 4 grams, sugars, 1 gram, protein, 3 grams. And then on the bottom half there, you can see the vitamins. So vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, iron. Says what nutrients are provided by these ingredients. So here, you look at the label, but then you also look at the ingredients. So it shows in bold enriched flour, corn syrup, sugar, soybean, and palm oil, dextrose, high fructose. All of those things are kind of important to pay attention to because, again, sometimes we're not really paying attention to what we're eating, and the ingredients can actually be pretty unhealthy, even if it's, the label on the front is advertising a certain thing. So just really building on those skills. So again, we're building that awareness of what we're putting into our mouths at each meal. So here, if you're in your kitchen or your living room, you can go get like 2 different soups and do this nice comparison game where you compare the food labels. So here you can see the difference. It's quite a large amount of difference between the sodium level. So on the right, there's that reduced sodium vegetable soup, and it has 340 milligrams. And then on the left, the regular vegetable soup has 680 milligrams. So you can see that's a big jump. Um, so how can you use percentage of daily value to help read your food labels? So here it gives nice bullet point, 5% or less of the percentage of daily value is low in a nutrient. 20% or more of the percentage daily value is considered high in a nutrient. So you can take a moment here and look what nutrients are these soups low in, and then what nutrients are these soups high in. So you can look at the numerical listing there. So that's kind of a nice activity for us all to do to build those skills. Again, another example, these are 2 different labels of natural peanut butter. Both say natural peanut butter, but are they the same? So you can look here, what are the differences between these 2 peanut butters? The ingredient list, the sugar content, let's see. On the right, those sugars are 3 grams. On the left, it's just 1 gram. You can see, let's see, the total fat are similar, 16 grams. Trans fat on both are 0. Saturated fat on the right is 3.5 grams, but saturated fat on the left, 2.5. Sodium, let's see. Sodium, the one on the left has lower sodium, 105 milligrams. The one on the right, 150 milligrams. So again, the take-home point is paying attention, looking at the numerical values, seeing what we're actually consuming, which is really important when we're trying to meet our goals for health in pregnancy and beyond. So quickly, the fats that we're talking about, there's good fats and there's bad fats. If you were here, we'd kind of brainstorm as a group, see what we all know before we kind of delve into this next slide. But we'll go ahead and move forward since you're watching this online. The facts on fat. So this is from the American Heart Association. They recommend replacing bad fats, which the bad fats are the saturated ones, with good fats, which are the unsaturated ones. And this goal is, again, to have a healthy eating pattern. So love it. Over there on the left, what we love is the unsaturated fats, the good fats, the poly and the mono fats. So that would be your avocados, your lean fishes, your salmon, your nuts, your almonds. Eating these things definitely improve our heart health. They lower rates of heart disease. They lower your bad cholesterol and your triglyceride levels, which can, if those get too high, can definitely affect heart blockages and other heart health issues. These things provide essential fats that our body needs because we can't produce them ourselves. Fats that we want to limit are the saturated fats. So all the good things, the bacon, the heavy cream, the half and half, the butter, the cheeses, all of these things can raise our cholesterol levels and they can increase our risk of heart disease. And then on that far right, the lose-it fats. So artificial trans fats, hydrogenated oils, and tropical oils. So again, all the good stuff, the donuts, the cakes, the desserts, the cookies, all of these things definitely play a key part in health disease and high cholesterol levels. So again, kind of the goal of doing this class and just further dialogue in your prenatal visits with us, what is the purpose of mindful eating? So taking time to slow down, eat more slowly, really pay attention to the taste, the flavors, the texture, trying to eat without distractions, sitting down at a dinner table opposed to standing at the counter or eating in your car or watching TV while we're eating, trying to really slow down and make eating more of a mindful act. Listening to your physical hunger cues and eating until you're full. So again, when we're eating really, really fast, it takes a while for our body to feel that fullness. And so if we're eating slowly, we can have a better chance of not overeating and getting way too full too quickly. Recognizing your actual hunger triggers and non-hunger triggers. So, again, just being in tune with if you're actually hungry or if you're stress eating or, you're just trying to multitask too much, so you're not really needing to eat necessarily, but you're just trying to like keep up with your fast-paced lifestyle. Using your senses, so noticing the smell, the color, the texture, the sound, and the taste of what you're eating. Learn healthy coping in regards to food. So again, trying not to stress eat, which can definitely be hard sometimes, but trying not to keep those tempting foods in the pantry at home, limiting what you're buying in terms of sweets. That way you're not as tempted to eat those if you're trying to cut those out of your daily diet. Eating to maintain your health and your well-being. So again, when we eat better, we feel better, we're not as sluggish, we're more energetic, we're happier people. So having that be a motivational factor in working towards a good nutrition. And then just notice how the food makes you feel and appreciating your food. So yeah, this slide I like because this can be definitely a discussion point when you're here at the office visit with us, or especially within family members that live in the house, because you guys are the biggest support system for each other in terms of making changes to your diet. Smoothies are great. There's a couple of recipes here in the next slide, I believe, on smoothie making and different components that you can throw in to the smoothies for nutrition. These are nice too when you wake up in the morning, if you're not a big breakfast eater, it's definitely important to get something in your stomach and not skipping breakfast for blood sugar control. So it's nice if you're, needing to go out the door and drive somewhere. So here's some sample smoothie recipes. Again, take a screenshot or write some ingredients down. You can definitely mix and match. So the healthy breakfast smoothie, it lists the different ingredients there, and then below there you can see different components. Like the green smoothie has avocado, baby spinach, or the purple smoothie has blueberry, red cabbage, yellow smoothie, mango or pineapple, and then butternut squash. So this is a really good way to incorporate those fruits and veggies, and it makes it fun too, especially for your kids or teenagers who may not like to eat a lot of fruits or veggies on their plate. Utilize that if you want. So again, this would be an activity if you're here with me, but you can think through it at home. How would you plan for a dream healthy day? So thinking about meals and snacks for an ideal day, and then, or what sounds good to you, and then making a grocery list based on that in terms of what you would need to buy to get in your pantry or your refrigerator or freezer in order to execute those meals or making those meals. So that's a kind of fun activity. It may make you a little bit more motivated in terms of your next grocery run. So goals, what goals would you set for you specifically? What goals would you set for your family? Hopefully maybe you watched this presentation today with a few of your family members so you guys can talk about it afterwards. It's especially important to try to make specific, measurable, small, attainable goals that are realistic. So you don't want to become overwhelmed or get too far ahead of yourself in terms of making widespread change, like doing a little bit each day, slowly easing into it, making it manageable, because that is going to be our best bet for long-term changes to reach our healthy goals for nutrition and for healthy weight. So to the end of our presentation, this is our Beyonce slide, motivation for rocking it out. Usually we go over some closing thoughts and takeaways from today's class. Hopefully this information was helpful for you, and I definitely encourage you, if you made notes today, to put them up on your fridge, and or bring questions or concerns to your next prenatal appointment to talk about with your midwife, so we can talk about it a little bit further and dialogue on it. Since this was an online class, it makes it obviously hard for that. So take care. We'll talk to you guys soon, and let us know if you need anything before your next appointment. Thanks.